I am Amanda, 37 years old, and I never thought my own brother would deliberately abandon my daughter Haley in a dangerous part of Colombia. They left her without her passport alone in a region the State Department explicitly warned against visiting. When I finally found her traumatized and terrified, I did not scream or cry. I planned. And the next morning, when security started banging on their door, my family learned exactly what happens when you mess with my child. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Click like and subscribe to support single mothers standing up for their children. My relationship with my brother Derek has always been complicated. Growing up, we were close, but something changed after I married young and had Haley. Derek married Rachel 2 years later, and they seemed to resent my independence and success. I worked hard to become an international sales director for a technology firm, climbing the corporate ladder, even after losing my husband James in a car accident 5 years ago. Since then, it has been just Haley and me against the world. Haley is brilliant, reserved, and thoughtful. At 16, she speaks basic Spanish, excels academically, and dreams of becoming a doctor. Unlike her cousins, Jared 19 and Megan 17, Haley values education and responsibility. Derek and Rachel raised their children with everything handed to them, creating entitled teenagers who saw Haley as competition rather than family. The tension between our families intensified after my father passed away 3 years ago. He left his valuable coin collection to Haley for her college fund, bypassing Derek and his children. Derek contested the will but failed. Rachel frequently criticized my parenting, claiming I was too protective and that Haley lacked real-world experience. I ignored these comments, focusing on giving my daughter stability after losing her father. When my grandmother Eleanor announced her 75th birthday celebration in Colombia, I hesitated. She had moved back to her hometown after my grandfather died, settling in a remote village in Colombia. While much of the country is perfectly safe for tourists, her specific region appeared on the State Department's Do Not Travel list due to criminal activity and limited emergency services. But Eleanor's health was failing, and she desperately wanted to see her American family one last time. I researched extensively, arranged secure transportation, prepared emergency contacts, and ensured our phones had international service. Haley and I practiced basic Spanish phrases together and studied cultural customs. We packed minimally but strategically, keeping copies of important documents in multiple places. I even registered with the American Embassy's STEP program for added security. The village itself was beautiful, with colorful buildings and friendly locals, but the surrounding areas posed legitimate dangers. Reports of kidnappings, robberies, and assaults were common, particularly targeting tourists. I explained these risks to Haley, establishing clear rules about staying together and avoiding certain areas entirely. Derek, Rachel, and their children arrived 2 days after us, complaining about the accommodations, food, and lack of reliable internet. Eleanor was thrilled to see everyone, but noticeably frailer than in our video calls. The first few days passed with forced pleasantries and passive-aggressive comments. I caught Jared and Megan mocking Haley's careful Spanish pronunciation and witnessed Rachel telling Eleanor that Haley was too sheltered compared to her worldly children. On our 4th day, an urgent email arrived from my biggest client requiring an immediate video conference. The internet at Eleanor's house barely functioned, so I would need to visit the business center in the nearby town. I had planned for us to visit a historical site that day with the entire family, and now faced leaving Haley with relatives I did not fully trust. "Can I come with you instead?" Haley whispered as I explained the situation over breakfast. "The business center only allows employees inside," I said. "The family is visiting the old church and garden, which should be perfectly safe. You will stay with Uncle Derek and Aunt Rachel the entire time." Haley glanced nervously at her cousins, who were snickering about something on Jared's phone. "I do not really want to." "It is just for 3 hours," I assured her, though my own instincts were screaming caution. "I will meet you all at the garden by noon." Derek overheard our conversation and inserted himself. "Amanda, she will be fine with us. You worry too much." We are family, Rachel added. We are perfectly capable of watching her. We raised 2 teenagers of our own, remember? That was precisely what worried me, but I needed this client to maintain my income as a single mother. The conference could not be rescheduled. The group should avoid the Eastern Market District completely, I instructed Derek. The embassy specifically warned about that area. Haley has her phone, but reception is spotty. Please keep her passport and documents safe while you visit the swimming area. Relax, Derek said, taking Haley's passport and tucking it into his wallet. We will keep her safer than you would. You are turning her into a fearful person with all your warnings. As I prepared to leave, Haley hugged me tightly. Please come back quickly, she whispered. I will be done by 11:30 and meet you by noon, I promised, brushing her hair back. Stay with the group and listen to your grandmother if anything feels unsafe. I looked back once before driving away in the rental car, catching a glimpse of Haley's worried expression as Megan pulled her toward their waiting vehicle. Something felt wrong, but I dismissed it as my usual overprotectiveness. That decision would haunt me for months to come. The morning of the incident began with unusual optimism. Eleanor had slept well and felt strong enough to join the excursion to the historical church and botanical gardens. The weather was perfect, cool with clear skies, promising good conditions for both sightseeing and photography. Haley had even started conversing more comfortably with her cousins at breakfast, bonding over a popular television series they all enjoyed. The gardens are supposed to have rare orchid species, Haley told me, excitedly showing me pictures on her tablet, and the church has architecture dating back to the 16th century. I was thrilled to see her enthusiasm, making my impending absence even more disappointing. Then my phone buzzed with an urgent message from my client, Westbrook Technologies. Their CEO needed to discuss contract terms before their board meeting later that day. I am so sorry about this, I told the family as I read the message. The internet here cannot handle video conferencing. I need to go to the business center in town. Always working, Rachel said with a pointed smile. Some things never change. I ignored her comment and pulled Derek aside. The family can still go as planned. I will catch up with you afterward. Of course, Derek agreed too readily. We will take good care of Haley. I provided detailed instructions, perhaps excessively so. The driver knows to avoid problematic areas. Stay together at all times. The gardens close at 2, so you should be finished by noon easily. Haley gets anxious in crowds, so please keep her close. Derek nodded impatiently. Amanda, we understand. She is not a baby. There is a reason the State Department classified this region as dangerous, I persisted. Multiple tourists disappeared last year. The kidnappers specifically target Americans. You read too many scary news stories, Rachel interjected. The locals love Americans. Everyone has been perfectly friendly. I turned to Haley, who was packing her small backpack with sunscreen, water, and her camera. Keep your emergency cash hidden in your shoe like we practiced. Text me when you arrive at each location. I will, Mom, she promised. They plan to swim at the natural pool near the gardens, Derek added. You should give me Haley's passport and documents for safekeeping. Would not want them getting wet or stolen while she swims. This request made sense, though it made me uneasy. I removed the waterproof pouch from around Haley's neck, containing her passport, emergency contact information, and return flight details. Guard these with your life, I said, only half joking as I handed them to Derek. She cannot return to the United States without them. Obviously, he replied, slipping the documents into his interior jacket pocket. I have carried passports before. Eleanor approached slowly with her walking cane. Are you certain you cannot reschedule your meeting? Amanda family should come first? I wish I could, Grandma, I said sincerely. This client represents 30% of my annual income. As a single mother, I cannot risk losing them. Eleanor nodded reluctantly. We will watch over Haley. Family takes care of family. I hugged Haley tightly before leaving. Remember our safety words. If you text me blue butterfly, I will know something is wrong and call immediately. Mom, you are embarrassing me, she whispered, though she hugged me back just as tightly. As I gathered my laptop and notes, I overheard Jared talking to Megan. Mom said we can split up after the church. I want to check out that marketplace with the electronics. Is that allowed? Megan asked. Aunt Amanda said to stay together. Aunt Amanda is not here, Jared replied. Dad already agreed. This conversation increased my anxiety, but confronting them would only create tension. Instead, I pulled Haley aside for one final warning. If the group suggests splitting up, refuse. Stay with Grandma Eleanor no matter what. Call me immediately if they try to separate from you. Haley nodded seriously. I understand. I will not leave Grandma's side. I checked the time, already running late. I will be back by 11:30. We can have lunch together at that cafe you liked yesterday. Promise? Haley asked suddenly, looking younger than her 16 years. Promise, I confirmed, not knowing this was a promise I would be unable to keep. As I drove away, I saw the family loading into the tour van. Haley, sandwiched between her cousins in the middle row. Eleanor sat in front with the driver, while Derek and Rachel took the back seats. The last glimpse I caught was of Haley turning to wave, her expression a mixture of resignation and worry that twisted my heart. During the drive to town, I called my client to confirm our meeting, and estimated I would finish by 11, giving me plenty of time to rejoin my family. The business center was modern and efficient, a stark contrast to the rustic village where we were staying. As I settled into a private conference room and connected to the reliable internet, I pushed away lingering concerns about Haley. She was with family after all. What could possibly go wrong? My video conference concluded successfully at 10:45, earlier than expected. The client loved my presentation and agreed to renew their contract with improved terms. Energized by this professional win, I packed up quickly, eager to rejoin my family at the botanical gardens ahead of schedule. I texted Haley, finished early, heading to gardens now. Where are you exactly? No response came, but I attributed this to poor cell reception in the rural areas. The drive back took 30 minutes, and I arrived at Eleanor's house at 11:15, expecting it to be empty. To my surprise, her ancient Volkswagen was parked outside. Confused, I entered the house calling out greetings. Hello, Grandma Haley. Eleanor emerged from her bedroom, looking surprised to see me. Amanda, you are back already. The meeting ended early, I explained, glancing around. Where is everyone else? Where is Haley? Eleanor's expression shifted to confusion. They did not tell you. Derek said the plans changed. They decided to go to the marketplace instead of the gardens, said it would be more exciting for the children. My stomach tightened. The Eastern marketplace, the one specifically warned against by the embassy. I believe so, Eleanor said, settling heavily into her rocking chair. I was too tired for all that walking, so I came home after the church tour. Derek assured me they would keep Haley safe. I immediately called Derek's phone. No answer. I tried Rachel, straight to voicemail. Then Jared and Megan. Nothing. Finally, I called Haley again, my heart racing, when it went immediately to voicemail. When did they leave for the market? I asked, trying to keep panic from my voice. Perhaps an hour ago. Derek mentioned showing the children some local culture. I grabbed my keys. Which direction did they go? Did they take a taxi or walk? They were walking, Eleanor said, now looking concerned. Amanda, what is wrong? They are just shopping. That market is in the red zone, I explained, already heading for the door. There were 3 tourist abductions there last month alone, and Haley's passport is with Derek. The next 2 hours became an increasingly desperate search. I drove through narrow streets, scanning crowds for familiar faces. I showed Haley's photo to locals struggling with my limited Spanish. Most shook their heads sympathetically but could not help. After an hour of searching, my phone finally rang. Rachel's name appeared on the screen. Where are you? I demanded without preamble. Where is Haley? We are having lunch at that cafe near the square, Rachel replied casually, the one with the blue awning. Is Haley with you? A pause. Not at the moment. She wanted to look around on her own for a while. Ice flooded my veins. You let my 16-year-old daughter wander alone in a dangerous foreign area. Where exactly is she? Amanda, relax. She is fine. We told her to meet us back at the cafe at 1. She has her phone. No, she does not, I snapped. Her phone goes straight to voicemail. And you have her passport, remember? Another pause, longer this time. Derek has her documents. We thought she should learn some independence. You coddle her too much. This is not about parenting styles, I nearly screamed into the phone. This is a State Department do not travel zone with active kidnapping threats. You are overreacting as usual, Rachel replied, though her voice held a new note of uncertainty. I am sure she is just shopping. Where exactly did you last see her? Near the silver vendors, I think. She said something about finding you a birthday gift. I hung up and raced toward the marketplace, horrific scenarios playing through my mind. Local news had reported 3 American tourists robbed at knife point just last week in this very area. Another had been held for ransom after being separated from their group. The marketplace was crowded and chaotic, filled with vendors selling everything from food to counterfeit designer goods. I pushed through throngs of people calling Haley's name and showing her photo to anyone who would look. An elderly shopkeeper recognized her picture and pointed toward a narrow alley leading away from the main square. My terror mounted as I followed his directions, the surroundings becoming increasingly run down and deserted. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm me, my phone rang with an unknown local number. Hello, I answered desperately. Mom Haley's voice was small and frightened, barely audible over background noise. Haley, where are you? Are you safe? I do not know exactly, she said, her voice breaking. They left me, Mom. They just left me. Uncle Derek said to wait at a cafe while they checked out another shop, but they never came back. My phone died, and I do not have my passport, and I tried to ask for directions, but my Spanish is not good enough, and some men started following me, so I ran, and now I do not know where I am, and— Breathe, sweetheart, I interrupted, though my own breathing was ragged with fear. Can you see any landmarks? Any store names? There is a market with red umbrellas, she said after a moment, and a mural of a woman in a yellow dress on the wall. Stay exactly where you are, I instructed. I am coming. Whose phone are you using? A shopkeeper let me use hers. She sells vegetables. Her name is Maria. Put her on, please. A woman's voice came on the line, speaking rapid Spanish. My limited language skills were stretched to their breaking point as I tried to understand her directions. Eventually, through a combination of broken Spanish and the few English words she knew, I understood where to find them. 20 minutes of frantic searching later, I finally spotted Haley huddled beside a vegetable stand, her face tear-streaked and pale. The moment she saw me, she ran into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. They just left me, Mom, she repeated between gasps. They said it was funny to see how long it would take me to realize they were gone. Jared said it would teach me not to be so boring. I held her tightly, murmuring reassurances while rage built inside me. The kind shopkeeper Maria refused payment when I tried to thank her, simply patting Haley's shoulder sympathetically. After ensuring Haley was physically unharmed, I drove us directly back to Eleanor's house, my daughter curled silently in the passenger seat. Her ordeal had lasted nearly 3 hours alone, in an area known for targeting tourists without identification or a working phone. The fact that she had escaped without being robbed or worse seemed miraculous. When we arrived, Derek's rental car was parked outside. I took a deep breath, squeezing Haley's hand. Stay behind me, I said quietly. No matter what happens, remember, none of this was your fault. We entered the house to find the entire family lounging in the living room, acting as if nothing unusual had occurred. Eleanor looked up, first relief washing over her face. Oh, thank goodness, did you find each other? There seems to have been some confusion about meeting points. Derek and Rachel exchanged glances, but said nothing. Jared smirked openly while Megan studied her fingernails with sudden fascination. The confrontation was about to begin, and I knew it would change our family forever. I stood in the doorway of Eleanor's living room, Haley trembling slightly behind me. The casual scene before me seemed surreal, after the terror we had just experienced. Derek sprawled in an armchair scrolling through his phone. Rachel sipped tea while chatting with Eleanor about local pottery. Jared and Megan lounged on the sofa sharing earbuds and watching something on a tablet. "Would someone like to explain?" I said with forced calm. "Why my daughter was abandoned in a dangerous area without her passport or a working phone?" 5 heads turned toward us. Eleanor looked genuinely shocked. Rachel's expression shifted to defensive. Derek barely glanced up from his device. "Amanda, you are making this into a much bigger deal than it is," Rachel said. "We simply got separated for a little while." "Separated," I repeated incredulously. "You deliberately left her alone after telling her to wait for you. You kept her passport. You knew her phone battery was low." "She needs to learn independence," Derek finally spoke, still not meeting my eyes. "You shelter her too much." Haley stepped forward, her voice small but steady. "You told me to wait at the cafe with the blue umbrella. You said you would be right back. I waited for 45 minutes. "And you should have stayed there," Jared interrupted. "Not our fault you wandered off." "I stayed until men started harassing me," Haley countered, her voice cracking. "They kept asking if I was alone, following me when I tried to leave. The cafe owner made me go, because I could not buy anything else without money." "That was hilarious." Jared suddenly laughed, nudging his sister. "Remember her face when she realized we had ditched her?" "You should have seen her expression," Megan added with a smirk. "She kept looking around like a lost puppy." Eleanor gasped. "You left her deliberately. Derek, tell me that is not true." Derek shrugged uncomfortably. "It was just a little prank. Kids need to learn to handle unexpected situations." "A prank?" I struggled to keep my voice level. "In a region with active travel warnings. Without her identification. Do you have any idea what could have happened to her?" "Nothing happened," Rachel dismissed. "She is fine. Look at her." I turned to fully face Haley, noting her disheveled appearance, red-rimmed eyes, and the dirt smudged across her jeans, where she had fallen while running from her pursuers. She was physically intact, but far from fine. "Where is her passport?" I demanded. Derek patted his jacket pocket. "Right here, safe and sound. See, no harm done." "Give it to me. Now." I extended my hand, fingers shaking slightly with suppressed rage. He hesitated, then produced the document pouch. "You are overreacting, Amanda. This is how kids learn resilience." Resilience. I snatched the passport from him. She was followed by strange men. She was lost for hours in an area known for kidnappings and violence. She had to beg a stranger to use their phone because hers died. How exactly does that teach resilience? "Life is not all safe spaces and participation trophies," Rachel interjected. "My children learned street smarts early." "Your children," I said slowly, "are cruel, entitled, and apparently raised without basic human empathy. And you?" I turned to Derek, the brother I once trusted with my life, deliberately endangered my child for amusement. "It was just a joke," Megan muttered. "Would it still be funny if she had been robbed?" I asked. "Assaulted, kidnapped. Would you be laughing then?" An uncomfortable silence fell across the room. Eleanor looked between us, distress evident on her weathered face. "I had no idea," she said finally. "Amanda, I swear I would never have allowed this if I had known." "I believe you, Grandma," I said gently. "This is not your fault." Jared rolled his eyes dramatically. "Everyone is being so dramatic." "She was alone for 2 hours? In broad daylight." 3 hours, Haley corrected quietly. "And those men followed me for 6 blocks. One grabbed my arm until I screamed, and a shopkeeper intervened." Rachel paled slightly at this new information. You never mentioned being grabbed. You never asked, Haley replied. You never even asked if I was okay when I got back. Derek stood abruptly. This conversation is pointless. What happened happened. She learned a valuable lesson about self-reliance. I felt a calm clarity settle over me, replacing the blinding rage. I did not scream or throw things as they clearly expected. Instead, I turned to Haley. Pack our things, please. All of them. We are not staying another night here. Amanda, do not be ridiculous, Derek scoffed. Where will you go? The next town is 30 miles away, and the rental car agencies are closed by now. I would rather sleep in the car than spend another minute under the same roof with people who endangered my child for entertainment. Eleanor struggled to her feet. Please, Amanda. This is my birthday celebration. Cannot we resolve this as a family? I am protecting my family, I replied, my voice softening only for her. My daughter who was traumatized today by people who should have protected her. What about forgiveness? Eleanor pleaded. Family forgives. Family does not abandon a 16-year-old girl without identification in a foreign danger zone, I countered. Family does not laugh about putting a child at risk. Family protects each other. While Haley gathered our belongings, I made several phone calls, speaking quietly but intently. First to the American embassy, then to my attorney friend back home, and finally to the local police. I took photos of Haley's condition and recorded her account of what happened while the details were fresh. Derek watched suspiciously. Who are you calling? That is no longer your concern, I replied evenly. Rachel approached hesitantly. Amanda, perhaps we overstepped. The children took a joke too far. But surely involving authorities is excessive. Abandoning a minor without identification in a known dangerous area is not a joke, I stated. It is child endangerment, potentially criminal negligence, and possibly a violation of international laws regarding guardian responsibility for minors crossing borders. Derek's expression changed, from dismissive to concerned. You would not dare. You did not believe I would find Haley either, I reminded him. You have consistently underestimated me, Derek. That ends today. Within an hour, Haley and I were checked into a small hotel in the safer part of town. I ordered room service and held my daughter as she finally allowed herself to break down, completely sobbing against my shoulder. Why do they hate me so much? She asked between tears. They do not hate you, I assured her, though I wondered the same thing myself. They lack empathy and perspective. Their actions reflect their character flaws, not your worth. That night, as Haley finally slept exhausted from her ordeal, I sat awake planning our next steps. This was not about revenge, I told myself. It was about justice, and ensuring they never endangered another child again. By morning, everything would change for Derek and his family, just as they had changed everything for Haley today. I made one final call to confirm arrangements, then sent a single text message to Derek. Actions have consequences. Sleep well. While Haley slept fitfully in our hotel room, I began methodically documenting everything that had happened. Opening my laptop, I created a detailed timeline beginning with our arrival in Colombia and ending with our departure from Eleanor's house. I included every relevant conversation, noting who was present and what was said. Particularly damning were Derek's admission that they had ditched Haley deliberately, and Jared's callous comments about how hilarious the situation had been. The hotel's internet connection was surprisingly strong, allowing me to research Colombian laws regarding child endangerment. I discovered that abandoning a minor in dangerous circumstances carried significant penalties, especially for foreign guardians, temporarily responsible for a child. International laws provided additional protections for minors traveling abroad. At 1 a.m., I placed a call to my longtime friend Barbara, an attorney specializing in international family law. Despite the late hour in the States, she answered immediately when I explained the urgency. They did what Barbara asked, her professional demeanor momentarily slipping. Deliberately abandoned her, kept her passport, and laughed about it afterward. I repeated, keeping my voice low to avoid waking Haley. I need to know my options. Legally, this is extraordinarily serious, Barbara explained. When your brother accepted temporary guardianship of Haley by taking her passport and explicitly agreeing to supervise her, he assumed legal responsibility. Intentionally abandoning her creates liability under both Colombian and American law. What about his government position? I asked, recalling that Derek worked for a defense contractor requiring security clearance. That complicates matters significantly for him, Barbara confirmed. Security clearances require demonstrating good judgment and character. Endangering a minor, particularly in a foreign country with active travel warnings, shows profoundly poor judgment. I took detailed notes as she outlined potential approaches from formal police reports to embassy involvement. While revenge was not my primary motivation, ensuring consequences for their actions was critical. Derek and Rachel needed to understand the severity of what they had done. After ending the call with Barbara, I contacted the American Embassy's emergency line. The official who answered was immediately concerned when I explained the situation. Miss Wilson, abandonment of an American minor in a Level 4 advisory region is something we take extremely seriously, he assured me. I can dispatch a consular officer to take formal statements tomorrow morning. My brother works for Arlington Defense Systems, I added. He has government security clearance. Does that factor into your response? That is highly relevant information, the official confirmed. We would need to file additional reports with the appropriate agencies. Security clearance holders are held to higher standards of conduct, especially regarding judgment exercised in high-risk regions. By 3 a.m., I had compiled a comprehensive evidence file. I downloaded the photos of Haley's condition after I found her screenshots of the State Department warnings for the region and statements from the shopkeeper who had helped her. I recorded voice memos recounting exactly what each family member had said during the confrontation, focusing on their admissions and callous attitudes. Several times during the night, Haley woke gasping from nightmares. Each time I soothed her back to sleep, my determination strengthening with every tear she shed. The psychological impact of their prank was already evident, reinforcing my resolve to ensure accountability. At 5 a.m., my phone chimed with a text from Eleanor's neighbor Sophia, whom I had befriended during our stay. Sophia had been present at the house after we left and overheard concerning conversations. Derek and Rachel laughing about teaching Haley a lesson, her message read. Jared showed video he took of leaving her. Megan bragging about idea to take passport. Eleanor very upset after understanding what happened. Family fighting now. I asked if she would be willing to provide a statement to authorities. Her response was immediate. Yes. What they did to your daughter was wrong. Eleanor agrees but afraid to speak against her son. This new information about Jared recording the incident was particularly valuable. If such video evidence existed, it would be irrefutable proof of premeditation. By 7 a.m., I received confirmation that embassy officials would meet us at 9, followed by local police at 10. I also learned that Derek's employer had been preliminarily notified of a potential security concern involving their employee abroad. When Haley finally woke properly around 7:30, I sat beside her on the bed and explained my actions. I have contacted authorities about what happened yesterday, I told her gently. Officials from the embassy and local police want to take our statements. Haley looked uncertain. Are Uncle Derek and Aunt Rachel going to be arrested? I do not know exactly what will happen, I answered honestly. But there need to be consequences for what they did. They put you in genuine danger, Haley. That is not a prank or a life lesson. It is potentially criminal negligence. Jared and Megan will hate me even more, she worried. This is not about their feelings toward you, I explained. This is about adult accountability for endangering a minor. Your cousins may not understand that now, but someday they might. We discussed the difference between revenge and justice, emphasizing that my goal was not to hurt our relatives, but to ensure they understood the seriousness of their actions and faced appropriate consequences. "Today will be difficult," I warned her. "You will need to recount your experience multiple times to different officials. Are you prepared for that?" Haley straightened her shoulders. "I can do it. I want them to know what really happened." "I am so proud of you," I told her, squeezing her hand. "Your courage continues to amaze me." After a quiet breakfast in our room, I received a surprising call from Eleanor's number. Expecting my grandmother, I was startled to hear Rachel's sister Diane on the line instead. "Amanda, this is Diane. I arrived last night for the birthday celebration and just heard what happened. I am absolutely appalled. Is Haley all right?" Diane had always been the more sensible sister, and her genuine concern was apparent. I gave her a brief summary of Haley's experience and our current plans. "I support what you are doing completely," Diane stated firmly. "Rachel and Derek crossed a line that should never be approached, let alone crossed. Would it help if I provided a statement about their subsequent behavior and comments?" Her offer was unexpected, but welcome. "That would be extremely helpful," I confirmed. "The officials will want to hear from any witnesses." "Consider it done," Diane promised. "And Amanda Eleanor wanted me to tell you she supports you too, though she is heartbroken about the situation. She is afraid to confront Derek directly, but she does not condone what they did." This information provided additional emotional support, though I remained focused on the logistics of the day ahead. I reviewed our documentation once more, ensuring everything was properly organized and accessible. At 8:30, I gathered our evidence and prepared Haley for the interviews to come. We discussed speaking clearly, sticking to facts, and the importance of honest, detailed accounts. "Remember, I told her as we prepared to meet the officials, this is not about punishing them. It is about establishing truth and accountability." Haley nodded solemnly. "I understand, Mom. I am ready." As we headed to meet the embassy representatives, I knew the next 24 hours would permanently alter our family dynamics. The plans were in place, the evidence compiled, and the authorities engaged. Now it was time to let justice take its course. Dawn broke with threatening storm clouds hanging low over the village, mirroring the gravity of what was about to unfold. Haley and I had returned to our hotel after providing detailed statements to both embassy officials and local police the previous day. The authorities had been appropriately alarmed by the evidence presented, particularly the recorded admissions and the video Sophia had managed to obtain from Jared's social media, where he briefly posted clips of their prank before thinking better of it and deleting them. "We will be proceeding with this matter immediately," the embassy official assured us. "Child endangerment cases involving American citizens receive priority attention." The local police captain was equally serious. "Abandoning a minor without identification in a restricted travel zone carries severe penalties under Colombian law," he explained through a translator. "We take such matters very seriously, especially when tourists are targeted." By 7 a.m., I received confirmation that our coordinated plan would proceed as scheduled. Embassy officials, local police, and even a representative from Derek's employer would arrive simultaneously at Eleanor's house at 8 a.m., creating a united front that would be impossible to dismiss or minimize. Haley sat across from me at breakfast, pushing eggs around her plate nervously. "Do we have to be there when it happens?" "No, sweetheart," I assured her. "The officials will handle everything. We can stay here until it is over." She considered this, then straightened her shoulders. "Actually, I want to be there. I want them to see me, and know I am not just going to pretend nothing happened." Her courage continuously amazed me. At 16, she demonstrated more maturity and strength of character than her adult relatives had shown. "Are you certain?" I asked. "It might become uncomfortable." "They made me feel small and powerless," Haley said quietly. "I need to be there when they learn they cannot just do that to people without consequences." We arrived at Eleanor's house at 7:55, parking down the street to observe without immediately engaging. Right on schedule, 3 official vehicles pulled up at 8 a.m. sharp. From the first emerged two embassy officials in formal attire, carrying diplomatic identification. The second vehicle contained 3 local police officers, including the captain we had spoken with. From the third stepped a stern-looking woman in a business suit whom I recognized as Linda Harrison, the ethics compliance officer from Arlington Defense Systems. The officials conferred briefly before approaching the house together. The embassy representative knocked firmly on the door. For nearly a minute, nothing happened. He knocked again more insistently. Finally, the door opened to reveal a disheveled Derek, clearly just awakened. Derek Wilson, the embassy official, asked formally. Yes, Derek confirmed, confusion evident on his face. What is this about? We need to speak with you and your family regarding a serious incident involving child endangerment. May we come in? Derek's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. He glanced past the officials and spotted our car. His eyes narrowed as understanding dawned. This is ridiculous, he protested. A family misunderstanding has been blown completely out of proportion. Sir, this is an official investigation, the police captain stated firmly. Please cooperate, or we will be forced to escalate the situation. Derek reluctantly stepped aside, allowing the group to enter. Haley and I waited 5 minutes before approaching the house ourselves. As we reached the door, raised voices were already audible from inside. This is absurd, Rachel was shouting. She was alone for a couple of hours at most. Mrs. Wilson, the embassy official, responded calmly, deliberately abandoning a minor in a level 4 security zone without identification constitutes serious endangerment under both American and Colombian law. We entered quietly, finding the entire family assembled in the living room. Derek stood rigidly by the fireplace, his face ashen as Linda Harrison reviewed documents with him. Rachel sat on the sofa, arms crossed defensively. Jared and Megan huddled together in the corner for once without their usual smugness. Eleanor sat in her rocking chair looking smaller and more fragile than ever. Diane stood supportively behind her. The police captain was explaining the potential charges. Abandonment of a minor child, endangerment, reckless endangerment, failure to provide proper supervision as temporary guardians, and potential violation of international minor protection statutes. Those are criminal charges, Derek protested, his voice hoarse. This was a family matter. A family matter that placed an American minor at significant risk in a known danger zone, the embassy official countered. We have documented evidence of intent and premeditation, including social media posts celebrating the act. Jared's face drained of color. You said you deleted those, he hissed at Megan. I did, she whispered back, after like 10 minutes. Linda Harrison addressed Derek directly. Mr. Wilson, as you know, your security clearance requires exemplary judgment and character, particularly in high-risk situations. This incident raises serious concerns about your decision-making capabilities. My clearance. Derek's voice cracked slightly. This has nothing to do with my job. On the contrary, Harrison replied. Security clearance evaluations specifically assess personal conduct, especially involving dependents and behavior in foreign countries. This incident will trigger a mandatory review. Rachel finally noticed our presence by the door. You, she spat. You did this. You could not just handle things within the family. Family does not endanger family, I responded calmly. Family does not abandon a 16-year-old girl without identification in a region known for targeting tourists. The police captain continued professionally. We have statements from multiple witnesses confirming this was an intentional act, not accidental separation. We also have evidence that the passport was deliberately withheld. Derek turned to me, desperation, replacing his usual arrogance. Amanda, please. This will destroy my career. My clearance is essential for my position. You should have considered that before abandoning my daughter for amusement, I replied evenly. Jared suddenly lunged forward. This is all your fault, he shouted at Haley. You just had to run crying to mommy instead of taking a joke. 2 police officers immediately stepped between them. Young man, that is enough, one stated firmly. Joke Haley spoke for the first time, her voice steady, despite her trembling hands. I was followed by strange men. I was lost for hours without money or identification. I could not call for help. I was terrified. Megan at least had the decency to look ashamed. We did not think about that part, she admitted quietly. Precisely the problem, I said. You did not think about the consequences of your actions. Now you are facing them. The formal interviews continued for hours. Statements were taken from everyone present, including Eleanor and Diane, who confirmed hearing the family boast about the prank afterward. Documentation was collected, including the damning video evidence and text messages between family members planning the abandonment. By afternoon, the situation had been fully documented by all three authorities. The embassy officials explained that the incident would be reported to the State Department. The police confirmed that formal charges were being considered with decisions expected within 48 hours. Linda Harrison informed Derek that his security clearance was temporarily suspended, pending investigation, effectively placing his employment in jeopardy. As the officials prepared to leave, the embassy representative addressed me directly. Miss Wilson, we have arranged emergency travel documentation to expedite your return to the United States if you wish to depart immediately. Thank you, I replied gratefully. We would like to leave as soon as possible. Derek approached as the officials stepped outside. Amanda, you have made your point. Call them off. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. It was not a misunderstanding, I corrected him. It was a deliberate act that endangered my child. You admitted that yourself on record. My entire career is at stake, he pleaded. Haley's safety was at stake yesterday, I reminded him. You found that hilarious. Rachel joined him, her earlier hostility replaced by panic. What do you want from us? An apology. Fine, we apologize. This response is completely disproportionate. This response is the natural consequence of your actions, I explained calmly. When you deliberately place a child in danger, authorities become involved. That is how society protects its most vulnerable members. Eleanor approached slowly, leaning heavily on her cane. This family is being torn apart, she said sadly. They tore it apart when they chose to endanger Haley, I replied gently. I am truly sorry this is happening during your birthday celebration, Grandma. You deserve better. She nodded slowly. I understand why you had to do this. I just wish it had never happened at all. As we prepared to leave, Diane approached and hugged both of us. You did the right thing, she whispered. I would have done exactly the same in your position. The officials escorted us from the house, confirming our flights had been changed to depart the following morning. As we walked to our car, I noticed Derek watching from the window, his expression a mixture of anger and fear. For the first time, he was facing genuine consequences for his actions, and the experience was clearly unfamiliar and unwelcome. In the car, Haley remained quiet for several minutes before finally speaking. Do you think they will ever understand what they did wrong? I considered this carefully. I hope so, sweetheart. Sometimes people need serious consequences before they can recognize their mistakes. Whether they learn from this is their choice, but at least they know their actions have real repercussions. As we drove away from Eleanor's house, rain finally began to fall, washing the dusty streets clean. It felt symbolic somehow, a cleansing after the toxicity of the past 2 days. The family dynamics would never be the same, but perhaps that was necessary. Some relationships cannot heal until the infection is fully exposed and treated. Justice had been set in motion. What happened next would depend on Derek and his family's capacity for genuine reflection and change. Either way, Haley and I had stood firm in the face of wrongdoing, and that alone was a victory worth celebrating. Our journey home began the following morning, with embassy officials escorting us to the airport. The heightened security was a stark reminder of how seriously authorities were taking the incident. As our plane lifted off Colombian soil, Haley visibly relaxed for the first time since the ordeal began. I cannot believe we are actually going home, she whispered, gazing out the window as the landscape receded below us. The long flight provided time for reflection and conversation. Haley alternated between moments of vulnerability and surprising strength. Several times she broke into tears, the delayed shock of her experience finally emerging. Other times, she spoke thoughtfully about what had happened and how it had changed her perspective. "I always thought family meant automatic safety," she admitted, as we crossed into American airspace. "Now I understand that relationships need to be based on actions, not just blood connections." "That is an incredibly mature realization," I told her. "Many adults never learn that lesson." Upon arriving home, I immediately scheduled appointments with Dr. Kimberly Laurent, a psychologist specializing in trauma recovery. During our first family session, Dr. Laurent explained that Haley was experiencing mild post-traumatic stress symptoms, including hypervigilance and intrusive thoughts about her abandonment. "These responses are entirely normal following a betrayal trauma," Dr. Laurent assured us. "With proper support, Haley will process this experience in healthy ways." In those initial weeks, nightmares frequently disrupted Haley's sleep. She would wake gasping, convinced she was lost in unfamiliar streets, with threatening figures following her. I established a routine of keeping her bedroom door open and a hall light on, providing warm milk with honey, and sitting with her until she fell asleep again. "I feel stupid being so scared in our own house," Haley confessed one particularly difficult night. "There is nothing stupid about your feelings," I assured her. "Your brain is processing a genuine threat experience. It takes time for your nervous system to recognize you are safe again." Meanwhile, the legal and professional consequences for Derek and his family unfolded steadily. 2 weeks after our return, I received official notification that Derek's security clearance had been suspended indefinitely, pending full investigation. Arlington Defense Systems had placed him on administrative leave, effectively halting his career progression and significantly impacting his income. The Colombian authorities ultimately decided not to pursue criminal charges, instead issuing formal reprimands and placing restrictions on future travel to the country. The American Embassy filed comprehensive reports with the State Department, creating a permanent record of the incident. Rachel called repeatedly during this period, her messages evolving from angry accusations to desperate pleas as the reality of their situation became clear. "Derek might lose his job entirely," she explained in one tearful voicemail. "We could lose the house. Is that really what you wanted?" I did not immediately return these calls, focusing instead on Haley's recovery. When I finally responded, my message was straightforward. What I wanted was for my daughter to be safe with family who cared about her well-being. What I wanted was for adults entrusted with her care to behave responsibly. What I wanted was never relevant to your choices that day. The consequences you are experiencing result directly from your own actions, not my response to them. Surprisingly, it was Diane who became our unexpected ally. Having witnessed the aftermath of the incident and her sister's callous attitude, she reached out regularly to check on Haley's well-being. Her perspective proved valuable as we navigated the fractured family dynamics. "Rachel and Derek are telling everyone who will listen that you overreacted," Diane reported during one of our coffee meetings. "But most people who hear the full story are horrified by what they did, especially parents. Their opinion of my parenting decisions matters far less to me than Haley's safety and recovery," I replied. 3 months after Colombia, we received an unexpected letter from Eleanor. Her health had improved enough for her to travel, and she was planning to visit us in the States. Her words conveyed both sadness and resolve. "What happened to Haley was inexcusable. While I love all my family, I cannot condone actions that deliberately endangered a child. I hope to repair my relationship with my great-granddaughter, if she is willing to see me." Haley read the letter twice before looking up with tears in her eyes. "I would like to see her." Grandma Eleanor was not part of what they did. Eleanor's visit proved healing for everyone. At 85, she had traveled across continents, specifically to reconnect with Haley and express her support. During her 2-week stay, they developed a special bond, spending hours together baking traditional Colombian desserts and looking through Eleanor's old photo albums. "Your mother has extraordinary courage," Eleanor told Haley one evening. "Standing against family when they are wrong is perhaps the hardest form of bravery." 6 months after the incident, we received notification that Derek had been required to complete extensive counseling as a condition for potentially reinstating his security clearance. The process had apparently prompted some genuine reflection. "Derek finally admitted he was wrong," Diane reported. "Not just strategically wrong because he got caught, but morally wrong in his treatment of Haley. Rachel is still resistant, but she is at least going through the motions of the required family counseling." As for Jared and Megan, their paths diverged in telling ways. Jared remained resentful, blaming us for his father's professional difficulties. Megan, however, reached out tentatively on Haley's birthday with a handwritten apology card. "I am sorry for what we did to you in Colombia. It was cruel and dangerous, and I should have known better. I do not expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know. I understand now why it was wrong." Haley read the card thoughtfully before placing it in her keepsake box. "I am not ready to talk to her yet," she decided. "But maybe someday." By the 1-year mark, our lives had found a new normal. Haley's nightmares had largely subsided, though certain triggers could still provoke anxiety. Her work with Dr. Laurent had helped her develop effective coping strategies and a deeper understanding of healthy boundaries. Our relationship with the extended family remained complicated, but evolved in important ways. Eleanor visited twice more, becoming a cherished presence in our lives. Diane and her children became regular guests at holidays. Derek and Rachel maintained distance, though occasional messages suggested they were working through their own process of reckoning. The most profound changes, however, occurred within Haley and me. Our bond deepened through the shared experience of trauma and recovery. I became more assertive in establishing boundaries, no longer accepting poor treatment in the name of family harmony. Haley developed remarkable discernment about relationships, recognizing the difference between genuine connection and obligation. "I learned something important from what happened," Haley told me on the anniversary of the incident. "I learned that love without respect is not really love at all. And I learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they are family. That wisdom will serve you throughout your life," I replied, amazed by her growth. The experience transformed us both in unexpected ways. My professional confidence grew as I recognized my ability to handle crisis situations effectively. Haley's resilience blossomed, along with a newfound empathy for others experiencing difficulty. Together we discovered that healing does not mean forgetting or pretending harm never occurred, but rather integrating the experience into our understanding of ourselves and others. The road to recovery had not been easy, but we traveled it together, emerging stronger and wiser on the other side. Family, we learned, is ultimately defined not by blood or obligation, but by those who treat us with genuine care, respect, and love. Sometimes the family we build through conscious choice proves more nurturing than the one we are born into. This understanding became our guiding principle as we moved forward, creating relationships based on mutual respect rather than mere biology or tradition. Have you ever had to make difficult decisions to protect someone you love, even when it meant standing against family? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. How do you balance family loyalty with personal boundaries? Please like this video if you found our journey meaningful. Subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and growth, and share with anyone who might be struggling with similar family challenges. Thank you for being part of our healing journey, and remember that true family protects, respects, and uplifts one another no matter what.